Okay, awesome. So, Martin, please go ahead, introduce yourself first.
All right. My name is Martine Lokken, and I'm a postdoc right now, a postdoc researcher in Barcelona, in Spain. I'm originally from the US, and I did my PhD in Toronto, in Canada. And then I moved here for my first postdoc, but I've been here for over 2 years now. And I'm mostly a cosmologist, so I study the origin, evolution of the universe, especially on very large scales, as well as the development of large scale structure. And in my free time, I really like to dance, to play music and listen to music, and to go to cultural events, try to learn new languages and things like that. So I
Awesome.
really like the arts and culture.
Nice. That's amazing. How many languages do you know?
I only speak English and Spanish well
Um,
or decently well,
okay.
but I'm learning Catalan right now because that's the
Oh,
local
wow.
language here in Barcelona.
Yeah, right.
It's very rudimentary at the moment, but that's one of my goals for this year. And I can understand a bit of French and a bit of Portuguese
Yeah, right.
because those are languages spoken in my partner's family. So
Oh, yeah.
slowly
Right.
working on building up the level for those
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, okay. That's amazing. Have you found it useful also for your career to learn multiple languages? Because this is a very big community with like so many people coming from different parts of the world together working. So,
Yeah, I feel like it does help create a bond when are able to speak the same language as somebody else, especially if they're a little uncomfortable in English.
right.
So yeah, with Spanish speakers, I think that's helped just create kind of a quick bond. Although I will say I'm not perfect at it by any means. Um, and beyond that, not so much because really everywhere I've been, it's very English focused. So
Right.
at work, everybody here does all the research discussions in English and everything.
Okay.
Um, but I think outside for the more casual social interactions in the community, that it can be helpful. And I see people who speak many languages, definitely it helps them a lot because like my,
Right.
my partner speaks many different languages and I can just see him always,
Yeah, right.
bonding quickly with people and it really impresses people too. So
Yeah, it
yeah, I
just
think it's
removes the
nice.
barriers, right? Like, I mean,
Hmm.
language barriers are just can be like sometimes so tall, especially when we're moving to like different places. I mean, I've seen that a
Hmm.
lot in like German speaking countries, like Austria or Germany, for example. Like nothing is in English anymore. Like, I mean, all the menus are produced in German, and they're like tightly saying, okay, in this country we're speaking German
Yeah.
and nothing
Yeah.
else. So yeah, like that could help a
Hmm.
lot. Okay, so I mean, let's and then like, what is the instrument that you're playing? Because you're a
Oh
music
yeah.
appreciator, yeah, like how
Yeah. I
does it
play the
work for you?
flute and the piano.
Oh,
But
nice.
mostly these days, mostly the flute because it's more portable and I can
Who's
go
your
meet up
favorite
with people.
composer?
Oh, that's a big question. Probably Bach. I like Bach a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I love him too. Okay.
Hmm.
Nice. Like maybe like this is coming from your love for mathematics, I suppose,
Yeah, I
because yeah,
mean,
like, because it's very organized music, right? Like that is what I
yeah.
love as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Baroque music is so very precise and
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
very interesting. Like the fugues when you see the same patterns coming up over and over
Right.
again. So
And
yeah,
you're doing theoretical
really like
astrophysics
that.
too, so I imagine like that is like there's like an interconnectedness over there. If I'm
Hmm.
guessing right. I don't
Yeah,
know.
actually, because I think there's a lot of astrophysicists who also are very into music. So yeah, I
Yeah,
do think there's
right.
connections there. Hmm.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into the very first question. So, how did you become an astrophysicist slash cosmologist? What was
Yeah,
your first motivation?
my first motivation was when I was pretty young, probably
Mhm.
around 10 or so, or
Right.
maybe even younger. Just when I was a kid, I had a lot of interest in the really big questions.
Okay.
So, like, what's the nature of time? How does time work?
Oh, wow.
How did our universe begin? How is it going to end? Basically, how did we get here? Like,
Okay.
where did we come from? And so I was always asking my parents these questions as if, they'd know the answer.
Yeah. And what
And
was the answer?
usually I don't know, or I don't know, well, you'll have to look it up, or
Yeah.
maybe read this book
Ask
or
Google.
check it out
Yeah.
online. Because at that point, yeah, Google existed, early days of it.
Yeah. Right.
And so yeah, I think they really encouraged me to try to learn more as much
Right.
as I could, because neither of them are scientists.
Okay.
Um, and so I started doing like school projects on space topics.
Okay.
and we would rent like little VHS tapes from the library, I remember.
Hmm.
And
Right, I do remember
watch
them too.
little,
Yeah, right. But
yeah.
for Disney movies, yeah, like not the scientific stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that too. Definitely not everything was scientific, but I remember watching one like documentary about some
Right.
cosmologists trying to understand dark energy and
Oh,
dark
wow.
matter.
Right.
And, I was maybe 9 or 10 and just watching it and being totally enraptured by
Oh, wow.
their
And how much of it did
discussion.
you understand actually? It
Oh,
does like
probably not
really
much.
influence. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. But these kind of programs like they're always accompanied by really cool visuals
Right.
and fun music and stuff.
True.
And that and also like in the US there's this public broadcasting system, PBS,
Right.
that does these NOVA programs, which are these
Right.
like science programs. And I watched a lot of those with my family.
Nice.
And they had a couple on Einstein and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I think like,
Was it
I
like a production for
interesting enough.
kids or was it for adults? And you just like got engaged
No.
with that because you didn't have any right materials to watch.
Yeah, it was for adults for sure. And I think um, yeah, I think just because my family would like sit down and watch them together,
Okay.
I would get really excited by them. And of course, I wasn't understanding relativity at the time, but I think the concepts were really fascinating to me and I wanted to understand it more. Um,
But it's just so
so,
weird that like I mean a 10-year-old is excited about the concept of time. Like I mean at that age, like I never thought about it. I was thinking about like darker skies, like in general, but then I mean not the actual like I mean theoretical stuff, like very theoretical stuff, like
mm,
time, cosmology, and then like dark energy, dark matter, because these are like very big questions. I mean puzzles that are unsolved even today. We don't
mhm.
know even much like I mean these days with all of the facilities, instruments that we have like 20 years later.
Exactly. It's kind of
So
crazy that even now these are the topics that I'm studying in my research. And,
yeah,
these
right.
are the things that got me excited like 20
No,
years
true.
ago.
And then, but
Hmm.
do you think like there was a background in this? Like, how did it occur to you?
To me as a kid,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like these were just
I don't
like
know. I gotta think.
encoded in your head. They were like, oh
Maybe I'm
yeah,
just
like
like,
I have some questions about time, like
yeah.
since childhood. Yeah, like, this
Well,
is my curiosity.
yeah, I was just a really curious kid. Like I was always asking why about everything. Well, why is
Oh,
this? Why
okay,
is
right.
that? So I guess I was kind of like a
Yeah.
philosophical child, and
Yeah, right.
I don't know, didn't have many friends, so maybe that just gave me a lot of time to think. So yeah, that could be part of
That's weird
it.
though. Yeah, like I mean, yeah, like, I mean, because you're very social and then you're always like this outgoing person. So like I mean,
Mhm.
you were a quiet kid and then you changed after a while.
I wasn't quiet. I think I was just weird. So
Okay.
I was social, like I tried hard to have friends
Yeah.
and stuff, but I was really into school, like I was really
Right.
nerdy
Yeah.
and very outgoing, but in a very like unfiltered way, I think. I didn't
Okay,
really know
yeah,
how to
right.
like behave
Yeah,
socially
no, true.
and I wasn't into the normal, I don't know. I remember all the girls in my class were really into like shopping and fashion and
Yeah, right, true.
since at the time it wasn't super exciting to me. So I just, with the particular kids in my class, I didn't
Right.
have a lot of topics to bond over.
Yeah, right.
And there's some bullying and things like that.
Oh, of
But
course.
as time went on, I think I learned more how to kind of understand people socially and
Yeah, right.
also just like the small school I had been in became for middle school, we like combined multiple schools
Yeah,
together.
right.
So I found people that were more my vibe and made friends later on.
Right.
But yeah, as a kid, I spent a lot of time. I remember I had one really close friend, and she and I in the summertime would play school for our
Yeah.
summer like
Oh,
activities.
okay.
So
Yeah,
even when
right.
we were off from school, we would
Yeah, no,
go
right.
in my backyard and like do like exercises
Yeah,
of
no, right.
like
No, I
English and
did.
math and stuff because we thought that was fun. So
No,
it was
true.
very
No,
nerdy.
right. I
Yeah.
mean, for others, I feel like it's like crazy when we say that, oh yeah, like we're not that much into like social stuff as well. Like, I mean, it's still up to this day. Like, I don't find like many social activities very interesting. If I
Mm,
have some time, like most of it just goes into like self-development or like
mm,
learning something new, either just like a language or like, I mean, doing something or whatever, like picking up a skill. But it's
mm,
really not talking about like travel, food, or like a stuff like that. Like, I
mm,
never get engaged with like, I mean, stuff like that. And then the thing that you said is very common, I think, among female scientists even today. Because you said that you socialize with people, I understood like what is the code of conduct, like socially speaking, for people to
mm,
be like, for women especially to be proper. But I find it like quite common that like even female astronomers around me, like they're quite forthright and they're like very honest, they're very direct, and they're like
Mm,
kind of different from the normal women that we see in society who are like kind of like proper. Like, I mean,
mm,
like they behave in a certain way, or I don't know, like they know how to talk, walk, etc. And I
mm,
usually like know a female scientist like from the way they behave. Like if they're like
mm,
very much like outspoken, they're very brave and they have like a lot of strong opinions. I'm usually like, okay, this person has critical thinking and they haven't like given into like so many social norms, let's say.
mm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I find it
I
common,
think
especially
there's
for us like as
trend
like
towards
young
that.
folks. I think I don't know, that is like
Yeah.
a common trait, right?
Yeah, I think there's a definitely a trend towards that. Of course, it's not a rule. Like I've seen all sorts of people in science, and I
Right.
think there's also people who are more like typical in that way that are also very good
Right.
scientists that I also, really respect because I think it actually can be hard if you are more of what maybe people would call like more normal or mainstream in
Right.
science, you're kind of the odd one out sometimes. Like, say if
Yeah, right.
you like to really dress up or things like that. And
Right,
so I
true.
think interestingly, like if those people get into science, sometimes they have a hard time because they
Oh, of
feel
course,
like they
yes.
have to like restrict themselves.
Right,
And it's interesting because I feel like I've kind of changed in that over time. Like now I'm very social. I really like hanging out with friends.
right,
In like college days, I like to party and things like that. And now I do appreciate things like some kind of fashion stuff and makeup and stuff like
right,
that. That's maybe more mainstream. But I also still have my, interest in obviously
right,
the sciences and all sorts of other things. So I like to have a little bit of it all.
right,
And it is interesting because I think when I'm at work or in the science sphere, I do kind of tamp down that part of myself, the other part of myself now,
right.
to like fit in more with the scientists.
True.
And of course, it's still a very male-dominated field. So
Of
if you
course, yeah.
roll up and you're all like done up, you have a lot of jewelry
Yeah.
on and stuff, you do kind of stick out. Um,
Right, true.
but I've been trying to get out of that as well a bit too. I'm like, everybody should be able to just be
Right,
themselves. And
true.
I, if I'm feeling like it, I try to just dress however I feel like that
Right.
day or act however I feel like so that, people can see examples of sorts of different people in science.
Yeah, that's like very good at it. I mean, this is like something that I picked up after my PhD, I guess. Because I figured out that yes, you have to dress up in a certain way, you have to act in a certain way. Like, I mean, usually, like, the thing that we say is that women start becoming men in
Mm,
astronomy. Like, they start like acting like men, talking like men, dressing up like men, even
mm,
sometimes. And then they have a lower tone. They actually like change their tone, they change their attitude. Like, this is like topics that come up like very often that you start like kind of,
yeah.
I don't know, like fitting in, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I mean, for after my postdoc, like what I decided to do was just wear a little bit of makeup every day because I was like, yeah, like I'm a woman. I'm proud of being a woman, and then I
Mm-hmm.
like to show it to everyone around me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I'm not a man. I don't like to be a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
this
And
was
you
like a
should.
cautious decision,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
this is like very good attitude. Yeah, paving the way also for the next generation of scientists who are like mostly like hopefully there's gonna be like more of women. I
Mm-hmm.
really hope for that, but
Yeah.
we'll
And
see how
trying
it
to
goes.
show people like femininity isn't a weakness. Like, of course, not all women have to be
Yeah,
hyper feminine, but being hyper feminine also doesn't mean you're not smart
right.
or that you're weak or anything like
True.
that.
Like
And
a
I think,
scientist shouldn't look like a man, necessarily speaking.
yeah, there's
There
all
can be
sorts
like
of
different
ways.
flavors of scientists and they can be real good at their job.
Hmm.
Okay, so for your career, like you decided to become a cosmologist like very early on. It was like when you were like
Yeah.
10 or 12, and then like you were steadfast on that. You were like, okay, like this is my way. I'm gonna move in that direction, and there is nothing else for me. Or was it like, I mean, like different decisions, like you had like different options and you had to choose between them?
Yeah, I would say when I was young, I knew I really liked this, but then I really liked music and dance. So I would tell people I want to be an astronomer and a dancer and a musician and
Okay.
maybe at some time like five other
Yeah.
things as well. So I had a lot of
Okay.
passions and I still
Okay.
do.
Right.
But yeah, as time went on, I guess I, started to take physics classes and
Right.
learn that, I really enjoy it and also I'm pretty, feel like I'm good at it. And
Right.
so that feels like the right path. And then I learned more about like what things would look like as an academic, as an astrophysicist, and it seemed like a life that I would want because it's also fairly flexible and you
Right.
get to work on a lot of the topics that you want to work on. So I thought that seemed cool. But yeah, I guess by like the end of high school, I kind of had to decide somewhat where I wanted to go with things because especially if you want to become a professional musician, you
Mm.
usually should go into very like music heavy kind of school
Right.
for university. So I did do a lot of like intense music stuff in high school, but decided that it's not something I wanted to be doing like all day, every day, which is really
Oh,
it's
okay.
really intense
As
if
a
you want to be a
job.
professional musician. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, I can do like 3, 4 hour rehearsals, but I don't want to be doing 8+ hours a day of playing my flute. Like it's just too much for me.
Okay.
So I decided, okay, that's something I can keep as a hobby.
Yeah.
It's not something I have to give up. I can just probably will have to do it less, but I can still
Right.
keep up with it. And so I decided to look for universities that would have good astronomy programs and physics programs. And so, yeah, I found the University of Virginia, which is where I ended up going for my undergrad, and it had a quite good astronomy program, and I got to start trying research in the summers and things like that. And I think that really helped me like start to form this identity as a someone who could do it because when I started, I of course was really unsure if I'd be able to make it, if I was smart
Right.
enough, if I was good enough. And it's also just very intense, like the beginnings
Right.
of a physics program.
True.
And so, yeah, it took a couple years to start feeling more confident in that. But I think by the end of college, I felt pretty confident that it was something that I could at least manage to do for grad school, and then we'd see after
Right.
that. Yeah.
So, was there a memorable moment for you from when you started your bachelor's up until the end of master's that made you pursue this as a real thing and then start a PhD? Because I think a PhD, like, it's a very big decision. So, you
Mm,
should have something that is really like establishing you in that field and then say that it's more than like, oh, I just can do it. It should be something that pushes you forward. So, I mean,
yeah.
did you have like that type of motivation like in that period? Like, was there something that you just studied, or like, did you have a mentor who inspired you? Or there was like something that you
Hmm.
said that, okay, this is my career. I know that I can get a degree in this, and I want my Doctor of Philosophy degree be concentrated on this topic because this is for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it was my first research project in an astronomy topic that really kind of confirmed that this was what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Um, I had had a little bit of research opportunity in my first and second years of my bachelor's,
Right.
but those were mostly in this condensed matter physics lab, which just let's say it wasn't for me.
Right.
Some people
Yeah,
love
I feel
that,
the
but
same for
it's
solid states. Yeah, like I like
yeah,
it, but it's not for me. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
beautiful, wonderful in its own ways. Yeah, like not for
Mhm.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, I very much respect the people that work on it, but at
Yeah.
least my position in the lab was I was an undergrad, so I couldn't do much, right? So I was mostly
Yeah.
actually very like manual labor in the
All right.
lab, and it was quite isolating and quite boring as well.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
no windows, so not a very fun experience. Um, but great to get the first,
Yeah, no, right.
research experience. But then that kind of made me question, like, oh, do I actually want to be a physicist? Like, I don't know
Yeah,
if
right.
I don't really enjoy this, so I
I
don't
think
think I
it's
want to
great
do
success
lab
to also
work.
understand what doesn't work for you. Like
It was
very early on,
helpful
to just have like the opportunity to experience a lot of things. So like later on, you won't be regretting it. You're like, oh yeah, like I
completely.
haven't tried like multiple things, but then you have like tried everything like before you actually choose, which is like a
Exactly.
great thing
Yeah.
to have, right?
Yeah, like I'm very sure that I do not like lab work and I never want to do lab work. So it's great because
Yeah,
I have
that was the
no
lesson.
regrets. Yeah.
Right.
So, but then after that, of course, I was a little bit unsure. And so then when I was able to do a summer research experience, I think it was after my second year with the professor in the astronomy department at UVA. I think I also started with her in the spring, maybe, and then we like continued into the summer. And I started learning like how to code in Python, how to
Oh,
do
okay,
some
right.
like basic analysis, and then we started, doing an actual proper research project that was analyzing some data to try to understand. I think it was to try to understand the motions of a satellite galaxy, like a
Oh,
dwarf galaxy of the
okay.
Milky Way. And yeah, that I started to really enjoy it. It's not exactly the topic that I was really excited to work on in the future, which was more cosmology.
Right.
But it was cosmology adjacent because it was trying to
Okay.
understand, ultimately the nature of dark matter,
Right.
because you can kind of do that with these dwarf galaxy motions. Um, and it was, just very like hands-on in the type of research analysis that I
Right.
knew would be the type that one would do for other types of cosmology research as well. And I learned I really liked to code. I found it fun.
Okay.
And that it wasn't such a abstract thing. Like before you learn to
Right.
code, I think it seems like it's really like, wow, someone who knows how to code is like really must be so smart and like
Oh yeah,
it's
right,
really
true.
complicated and it's like this whole
Yeah,
other
no, right.
world. And I remember thinking like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. Like I saw my computer science major friends learning to code and they
Yeah.
were so confident in it. And I thought,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, no,
maybe I
right.
won't be able to. But then, just like anything, it's a learning process. You
Yeah,
learn, you figure it out, and eventually it makes sense. So
true.
I think that process really helped me a lot.
Okay. No, that's great. So like you saw things like coming together for you, like in the same
Hmm.
project, and then you were like, okay, I want to continue this for my PhD. And then when you applied for that, like what happened in your PhD? Like how was your experience? Because I feel like it's a very difficult phase, like compared to like masters to even postdoc. I feel like it's the most challenging part of every researcher's
Mm,
experience. Like I mean, like in the
the
long
PhD.
term, yeah, like I mean, this is like very challenging phase. Because
Yeah,
it's
for
the
sure.
first time that you're doing consistent research, I believe, for the first
Hmm.
time. And then you see like how it works. And then you're
Hmm.
challenged in like so many different ways. And then
Yeah.
you're also like challenged by the environment. So there are so many things that you didn't expect. And then like things that work for you, things that don't work for you. And then like most often it's not even your fault that things don't work for you. When
Yeah.
you realize like how the environments work, like especially like academics, because they're all like very busy people. And then like sometimes I don't know, like mentorship, like getting mentorship and like getting supervision, etc. It's just very challenging from like different aspects. So, how was your experience overall?
Yeah, so I did a PhD that was like the master's and PhD all in one,
Oh, okay,
which is
right,
common in North America.
right,
So immediately after undergrad, you
right.
like start your PhD, but initially
Okay,
you're doing a mixture of coursework and also research.
okay. That
And
was like
also,
2 years master, 3 years research, kind
yeah,
of.
it's
Okay,
similar to that, except that we start the research right away as well.
okay. Oh, nice. Okay,
So I will say the first year or the 2 years were very intense because
right,
it's balancing trying to start research and you're kind of expected to do some major work even in the
right,
first year. And some people are even like, publishing a paper within their first year,
right,
etc. But also taking courses. And then also we had to teach. So we had
right,
to
right.
TA. And the teaching load wasn't too bad in Toronto, but it was very regular, like I can't remember something like 7 hours a week or something like that.
Okay,
Um, so nothing crazy, but it was very regular that had to be on your mind and jumping right away from undergrad to having to TA a
right,
course on topics that you might not have actually taken before is a bit
okay.
stressful. So at the
It is.
beginning, I was also like preparing for those classes that we were TAing took a lot of extra time because you
Right.
want to be teaching the right thing and you want to know
Yeah,
what
of
you're
course.
talking
Yeah, no,
about.
no. True.
And some of the classes that I had to start with is mostly like solar system stuff, which I had never
Oh,
done
okay.
in
Yeah.
undergrad.
Okay.
So
Yeah, no, I mean, even
I'm
now
like,
it's like crazy for me. Yeah.
I don't remember half
This
of
is
it. It was
coming from
like,
someone who's like doing stellar sciences and is still like,
yeah,
I mean, solar bodies.
right.
No.
Yeah. It's
No,
like, what's
thank you.
the, process that like by which you get the layers of the planets, like what's inside of Jupiter. I don't remember now,
Yeah, no, true.
but
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, like you can ask
all
Google.
these
Yeah.
details. Yeah,
This is
exactly.
Gemini. Yeah. What's that? Yeah. What's that for?
Yeah.
No,
So
right.
that I found it difficult to balance all of that. Just like suddenly having to organize your time so carefully, but having,
Right.
you have some flexibility, but you have to be really on top of things. And some of the coursework was really difficult as well. But I think once I finished that stage and had taken my qualifying exams, et cetera, which were also very stressful, after all of that, moving into the research only phase of the PhD
Right.
was really nice because I really liked it. I liked just getting to do research all day, every day. I still had to TA sometimes, but there were some semesters then that I got off of teaching. So especially then, just being able to focus and like really see through a project and developing the ability to be independent as a researcher and come up with my own ideas for the direction of projects and even for new projects was
Right.
really exciting. I really enjoyed that
That's
phase.
right. Right.
So yeah, I think then like I really developed my kind of identity as a researcher and my independence. Um, and for me, yeah, I would say it was started off being quite difficult because my project wasn't super clearly defined. It was
Right.
very exploratory. It was like we
Right.
want to try to develop this new technique. We want to see what we could use it for.
Right.
Like we have motivation for doing it, but no one's really looked at things this way before, and we don't really know what we're going to find with it.
Right.
And so there was a lot of trial and error and a lot of failure where, I
Right.
would try things and it just wouldn't work. And there was times when I thought, well, maybe we have to just give up on this project. I don't know if it's ever going to work.
Altogether, yeah, I put it aside.
Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And it's,
Yeah,
because you
no, thank
have
you.
several
Yeah.
years to figure it out and otherwise, you kind of have to have some results by the end of your PhD and
No, I know. Yeah, right. I mean, this is the
yeah.
challenging thing about it. And most of it, like I've heard, is happening inside United States. So like you don't hear this much like, here in Europe, for example.
Hmm.
The like supervisors are very much like controlling. They're like, oh yeah, like we're going like from phase A to like phase B. Like sometimes like my own supervisor during my PhD, they were like, oh yeah, like you're just solving a problem that was already solved. So like I mean all the three projects that I worked on,
Mm.
like none of them had like any type of like novelty. It was just like I mean like working on something that is already in place. So you get the
Oh, okay.
results. Like we know like from where
Mm.
we're beginning to like where we're ending. It was not like
Mm.
many publications, but I think like the strategy behind that was that okay, like after these 3 years, you have to compete with people who are coming up with like so many papers, and then like you're gonna be like lagging behind if you're like too much. I mean, like exploring your own way, as you said. But then this is something that I really like about people who are graduating in US because I think it is like what you said. They build an identity as a researcher because building something new means that it gives you the confidence to start in the
Hmm.
field and then say that okay, this is one thing that I know, and then like not so many people know about it, and I'm coming in with my own techniques, with my own power, with my own knowledge.
Hmm.
While if you're in a pool that like there are so many people already doing what you've been doing, then I think you don't feel that confident. So like for me, like the difference was that it took me a lot of years to identify, to like call myself an astronomer. So because like I
Mm.
didn't have like that type of experience, I was like, okay, like I'm a copycat. I know a lot of things, but then like I don't have anything that I can call mine. But I
Right.
feel like one of the things that is coming from US graduates is that I hear this a lot that like the supervisor is exploring something. They don't know like where the project is going. And they're like, okay,
Hmm.
if you're a PhD student, this is the phase that you really have time and you don't have to be that much competitive too. So you can build something from a scratch.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, like I don't know like how you see this. Like, was it like really like this? Was it the experience like this? Like, and
Yeah.
when you look back, like how does it feel?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. Like for in my experience, I think it's really difficult, of course, doing that kind of exploratory work, but I really appreciate having done that because I feel very confident in even leading projects now and supervising
Mhm.
students now, etc. Because I'm not scared of trying something new and
All
different.
right.
Because, things can fail, but I
Yeah.
guess I've been through that and it's okay. You come out on the other side.
Yeah,
So
no,
I
right.
think that's really valuable. And I see some of that same pattern that you're mentioning, like now that I'm in Europe. Sometimes it does seem to me that people are repeating known techniques more often in the PhDs, et cetera. And I think
Which
there's
is like the
value.
conservative approach, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in that. Like, of course, if you have a supervisor who's been working on this technique for many, many years and you're consistent with that and then you have your students work on that, you can get some great results just because like the time that's spent on it
Right.
and the perfection of that technique. So it can be very robust. And I think the students can learn a lot because, it's already written out for them. So you can actually like someone's written out the analytic expressions that you need for this
Right.
technique or for the
True.
theory. And so you can directly like read those, learn them, understand them, and become really expert. Whereas I think with what I was working on, a lot of times when during my PhD, was trying to explain what we were doing or present it, people would ask me questions that I often didn't know the answer to
Right,
because no one did, because we hadn't figured it out yet.
right,
For a while, I was very confused and I
right.
think I couldn't motivate my own project very well. Um,
But
and
as
so
a
I
young
think,
scientist, it should be like very stressful as well. Like,
yeah,
do you want to talk a
it's,
little bit about it? Because when you're in that process, like, I mean, you
mhm,
have like how many years? You have like 3 years, 2 years of it, like you still don't know like what's happening. You don't have like solid publication track record.
mhm,
And then you have to like
yes,
compete with everyone else afterward if you're investing in that field and you don't want to go to industry. So,
yeah.
I mean, how was that? Like, how did you feel about that?
I remember being quite stressed by my third year of the PhD, which would be kind of like the first year of a formal PhD in Europe, because I had already been working on this for, 2 and a bit years. And in that third year, I think I thought that we would really wrap up by then, at
Right,
least one paper.
right,
But the work was expanding and we were doing more and exploring more.
right,
And in the end, it ended up being really long. Like this first paper was
right,
something like 40 something pages. And
right.
my one of my advisors really likes to write these kind of long papers where you really
Oh, okay,
explore
yeah, right.
everything and you do
Yeah,
the simulations, you do
yeah,
it on the
right.
data, you combine everything, you check every kind of
Yeah,
little
no,
thing.
right, right.
So I think, yeah, that was stressful to me because I was seeing peers publish earlier than
Yeah,
that. And I had this idea in my mind that there should be some kind of schedule to it. And so I was really worried that,
yeah, no,
was never
right.
going to publish or I'd only have one paper by the end of my
But this
PhD.
is a very good point because, of course, like, I mean, you have office mates, you have people who are like, I mean, you're interacting with like all the time, right? Like, they're like traveling, I don't know, like, they're giving like invited talks, they're like giving contributed talks, they're like publishing a lot, and they're like talking about like referee journals, like, I mean, like, I don't know, the many papers that they have published. And then, like, here
Hmm.
you are, like, I mean, like, with no papers, and then you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, what's happening? I feel like
Yeah.
most of the stress is also coming from the competitiveness of the field that like how your peers are doing. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, especially like in PhD, I think like because it's the very first time that you're inside that environment, then it can feel, I don't know, it's suffocating,
Yeah.
I think. Like when you're
Yeah.
like working on projects like that are not like so sure, then you're,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like I mean, how does it work? But I
And
feel like it
there's
pays off in the long run. Like from
in
what
the
I've
long
seen,
run,
yeah, right. I
yeah.
mean, like people who develop their own techniques, like they have really built their own thing, like it's a very good
Hmm.
investment. Like maybe if
Hmm.
I have to like go back, like I would try something like that. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I didn't have the mentors who offered that. So whatever like project that I was going after was something that was already too established. Like there was like
Right.
zero risks sort of thing because they just wanted to
Right.
publish, publish, publish.
Right.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
think like what you have worked on, I think like that is a very good strategy. So
Hmm. Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's valuable in the end if you can make it through. Like I would say
Right.
to anyone out there who's struggling through something similar, like in that
Yeah.
intermediate phase, it can feel very stressful. You want to compare yourself with others, and you don't even know really what you're supposed to do. Like,
Right.
how many papers should I have at this point? Is
Yeah.
it going to be okay? You don't
Right.
know because you can't predict the future. And so it can be very stressful. And it's also hard to not see the light at the end of the tunnel when you're
Right.
doing exploratory work. Like, you don't know when you're going to
Yeah.
finish. You don't know
True.
what the paper is going to say. Maybe you're going to
Right.
do all this work and then it's actually going to result in very little in terms of the results.
Right.
And that's stressful.
True.
I think this happens a lot also with theory work, like new exploratory
Right.
theory work. Um, but yes, I think in my case, I felt like it was really worth it at the end. And just kind of keeping at it, trying not to get burnt out, uh, trying to find different ways to stay motivated, and also having at least one other project that I could switch to and
Oh,
take my
right.
mind off the first
Right.
one was really helpful. So I did start a different project with another supervisor, and I was co-supervised. So, I had some different inputs as well. And I think having those two to be able to go back and forth between was helpful because I didn't get so like stuck and driven crazy on the first one.
Right.
I could switch and take a breather and, like take a walk, like the
Yeah,
people
right.
say
I was
this,
going
but
to
it
ask you,
actually
yeah, like
helps.
what,
It
yeah, like
does.
what mentally helped you? I
Yeah.
mean,
And a
this period,
lot.
like what was your coping mechanism? Because I mean, like part of the work is just work, 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 and then like, but you
Mhm.
have to breathe sometimes. So like, what
You
was
have to breathe.
feeling that
Yeah.
emotional space for you?
Well, a lot of this was during COVID, so that made
Oh,
things
Jesus
probably even
Christ.
more
Oh my
difficult.
God.
So, and Toronto had a really long lockdown for COVID. So it was like
Yeah,
a
right.
2 year or more lockdown,
Okay.
almost straight through. And so I wasn't seeing many people or anything. So it was
Right.
a very tough time. And I remember getting very frustrated and very overwhelmed at certain times. But yeah, I tried to really, yeah, take walks and talk to family
Okay.
and as much as I could talk to friends, even though we couldn't really see
Right.
each other at the time. And for me, I love to dance, so sometimes I would
Right.
just shut the laptop and
Right.
put some music on and just do some kind of improv dance to
Yeah.
try to, it's one way that I feel like I can express my feelings and
Right.
deal with overwhelming emotions. So I think it's important to find your outlet for those emotions, and just be able to shut things off and like take real breaks. Also, I would say I think a lot of grad students don't take actual vacation.
Right.
You
True.
have vacation, but you feel like you're supposed to work during it. And
Right.
sometimes your supervisors even subtly kind of encourage you to work through it,
Or they're actually working on the
or they're
side.
working.
Yeah, they don't have a
Yeah.
life too.
So you feel like
We
you
all
have
don't have a
to,
life. Yeah, no, true.
yeah. But I think it's so important to really take
Right.
actual vacation and more than 2 days. I think there's some psychological studies on this that I think you need like 4 days or something of really shutting off to
Right.
feel the effects. Uh,
Right.
but personally, yeah, having like a week or two straight of turning things off and
Right.
bare maybe checking like really urgent emails, but nothing more than
True.
that.
True.
I always feel very reset after those times, especially if
Right.
I take the time to spend a lot of quality time with people I love
Right.
and move a lot, exercise a lot. Then I always feel better after that.
I'm so proud of you, yeah, like because that should have been like very frustrating, like especially if these things are like happening during your PhD because you can't even like go to I don't know someone's office and then like knock on the door
Hmm.
and say that hey yeah like like I'm feeling like that or this or that and da da da. But then I
Yeah,
mean the only place that you're seeing them is on Zoom or online, which
yeah,
is not at all comparable to an in-person meeting.
yeah. It was
So
tough, but
yeah,
I guess everybody went through that in some kind of way, so
yeah,
we all know what it feels like.
yeah, no, right. I mean, oh well, COVID memory.
COVID times.
Yeah, COVID times,
Don't
yeah.
want to think about them too much. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. I'm happy it's
Mm.
gone. It's
Yeah,
gone and done and it's not returning. Yeah, like
hopefully.
hopefully, yeah, like hopefully, no. Okay, so next question. So how do you feel as an astronomer on daily basis? So now you're in a very different phase. Now you're in a postdoc, you have an actual real job in this field. I mean, although
Hmm.
very young, but then like this is your career now.
Hmm.
So I mean, in a normal day that I don't know, you haven't like published that like review paper that you always wanted to publish, or like it's not a good day, or like it's not a very bad day that you have like a rejected paper or something, or a proposal that didn't go through, etc.
Hmm.
How do you feel in a
Yeah.
normal average day?
In an average day in my current position, I feel quite good. I really like my current postdoc. I like where I live. Barcelona is a great city.
Yeah, I
So
can
that
imagine.
helps a lot. It's very sunny usually, so great
Right,
weather. Yeah,
right,
those things really help, I have to say. They sound
right.
trivial, but they make a huge difference, at least for
Yeah,
me.
no, it does. Right.
Um, and I'm lucky that I really like the colleagues that I work with right now.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of friends at my institute that
Nice.
we all spend a lot of time together outside of work
Mm,
as well. So I actually
that's
look
great.
forward to going into work every day.
Nice.
So people say this, but it's really true. Like the people you work with really matter.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely yes. I mean, we're spending like 8 to like 13 hours per day, like with our colleagues. I mean, in this
yeah.
job at least. So I mean, yeah, yes, it really matters
Hmm.
because you see them like more than your family, I think. So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
you do. Yeah, you do.
yeah, they
Absolutely.
directly affect your mental health and then like physical health and everything else. Yeah, right. It's very
Hmm.
important. Yes, like selecting the research group you're working with.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the culture here in Spain is very good about work-life balance.
Oh,
So,
nice.
people take good hour-long lunch breaks and we all go together to get lunch together. So it's always a part of the day that I can
That's
look
great.
forward to, and really shut off. And yeah, sometimes we'll, go for drinks after work or
Mhm.
things like that. And in general, I find it's not nearly as intense as the PhD. I'm not sure if that's because I'm a postdoc or because I'm living in such a different place. I think it's a bit of a
I
mix of
think,
both.
yeah, right. But then like postdoctoral, yeah, like I mean they all say like I mean it gets worst. Like I mean it gets in the worst place that it can be during your PhD, but then after that it just like goes up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you can, just
Hmm.
if you want to like give it another chance, because I had these cases that like some people just get their
Mm.
PhD and they were like, never again. But then the thing is
Mm.
that like I think for your postdoc, like it gets better.
Yeah. Yeah, it has felt like a total like breath of fresh air. I was feeling a
Yeah,
little
right.
burnt
I can
out after
imagine. Yeah,
the
right.
PhD, but
True. It's common
yeah.
experience. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I feel more like a human again. Like I sleep normal amounts of
Right.
time and I can
True.
do a lot of hobbies. I do a lot of
Right.
things that I couldn't do that much during my PhD. So for
Right.
example, like I play music more often now,
Right.
sometimes with friends. I do a lot of dance. I do a lot of like cultural
Right.
activities around here. And so I feel very fulfilled as a whole person.
Right.
And I still really like my research. I find cosmology still really interesting.
Right.
Even, you know, sometimes, of course, I start to get a little bored with whatever I'm working on,
Yeah.
but then I'll go to a conference and hear about some topic that I've never heard about and get
Right.
really excited again. So I find
It's a lot
it
like
great
marriage,
feeling.
right? I think it's about doing the mundane work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
This
like
is
you're in
true.
love with someone, but not every day.
Yeah. 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 That's a good point.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
I
like I mean, you
agree.
just like show up every day. It's not like every
Hmm.
day you're excited, but you have to show up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You're not, yeah, every day it's not like I come in and I'm like,
Yeah.
the universe is amazing. But
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, once in a while I get those like kicks again, either from a
Yeah, right.
talk or from sometimes it's a movie or a cool like
Right.
outreach visual that someone's made. And I'm like,
True.
wow, we're doing really cool stuff here. Like it's a
Yeah,
good
no, right.
reminder
No, it's
of the
true.
scale of what we're looking at.
No, right. And then like I mean the privilege though, like I know that astronomers, astrophysicists, whatever that is like in this field, like we're less than 50,000 people, I think globally speaking. So like out of like
Mm.
8 billion people, like we're less than like 50,000. So it's a very
Mm.
privileged position to be in, I think.
It is, yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm very grateful to be able to work on this
Yeah,
because
right. So I
I
usually like
definitely didn't
challenge people to
expect
just
it.
talk about their feelings through some vocabulary set, like anything from like 1 to 5 words, usually. So
Okay.
if you want to describe yourself, like your feelings with like 1 to 5 words, like what would they be?
Okay. I guess content would be one of them. I feel
Okay.
very content these days. Um, Excited. I am often quite excited, especially in the last year, about cosmology because there's been some really great new results from different observatories that show that there's actually progress in the field, which hasn't really happened for 20 years, like we were talking about. So
Yeah,
I'm
it seems
like,
forever actually.
yeah, I'm like, okay, I still have a career. There's still
Since we
things to
know about
learn.
this problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah.
know.
So that's great. Um, Other words. I would say also frustrated. Like there's so many little daily frustrations that come
Oh
up
yeah.
with bugs in the code and
Yeah.
you know things that you thought would go faster.
Yeah.
Um,
Everyday stuff.
and yeah, and I could say also, I'm trying to say just describe this in one word, but maybe something like overwhelmed, because at times I wouldn't say it's every day, but most weeks there's at least something that makes me feel like there's a little too much on my plate.
Right.
Um, I'm involved in a lot of committees and I,
Right.
you know, I try to do things for the collaborations I'm in, and I have several research projects ongoing. I'm also supervising a couple of students. And so sometimes if I'm not super organized,
Right.
sometimes I miss something or two things are going on at once and I just feel
Oh,
quite overwhelmed because I'm like, oh, I feel like
right.
I've taken on too much. And I think that happens more and more the further you go in your career. I hear this from faculty all the
Yeah,
time.
no, right.
So I think that's a pretty regular
Right.
feeling in the
True.
job. But yeah, I'm trying to learn how to process that when it happens and just how to
Right.
balance it so I don't feel it too often.
I'm
Hmm.
not sure even if that is a necessity. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I had a friend of mine and she was like describing this in a very nice way. She was like, I know that I'm a professor if I'm no longer available.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's
going
what I
like from like
hear.
postdoctoral position to like a staff
Hmm.
member. Yeah, like she was like, yeah, like I mean, if you're no longer available, it means that you're a professor.
Yeah. Yeah, it does really seem that way. And that's made me
Yeah.
question sometimes, like, do I want to be faculty? Because
Yeah, right.
they get hit with so much bureaucratic work and it
Right.
seems really unpleasant, honestly. So
True.
that's applying
Right.
for grants and obviously a lot
Right.
of supervision. And they barely have time to do research.
Oh yeah,
So
of course. Yeah, no, right.
yeah, it seems like a lot. And I think there's some people. can handle it. Others, I think, are just kind of constantly operating
Yeah,
on a state of crazy
yeah,
stress and no
true.
sleep. So I don't want to live my
Yeah,
life that way. So I'm trying to figure out if it's something I
yeah,
can do while still
yeah,
being the kind of human I want to be.
yeah, right. So it should like align with your values at a certain point, I think. But then I
Yeah.
think for young researchers, yeah, like I mean, I think like we still have time to like make the big decision because that's a very
Hmm.
big decision, I think, for many of us.
Hmm.
And so like I mean, you talked a little bit about your research, but then like we actually never talked about your research. And then like you're very excited about it. So do you want to talk a little bit about it? And like what is the concept and then like stuff for like people who don't know? Like
Sure.
technical terms, yeah, like for general public.
Yeah, I can try it. So I'm working on a few different things right now. So I'm in a couple of collaborations.
Mm,
I was in the Atacama Cosmology Telescope
mm,
collaboration, which is kind of winding down right now, but
mm,
had its big like final data release last year. And that is a telescope that does CMB research, so cosmic microwave background,
mm,
um, and basically tries to measure cosmological parameters from this primordial light from the very early universe and the fluctuations in that light. And then I'm also in DESI, which is the Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument,
okay.
the collaboration for that, which is measuring many, many galaxies with spectra. So we can get their very precise positions, not only on the sky, but also their redshifts, which is like the third axis of the position.
Right.
Um, and so with both of these instruments, we've been able to learn a lot in the last couple of years about the evolution of the universe, in particular the expansion rate. And this is how we try to understand the thing we call dark energy. And so we know for a long time that the universe is expanding at this accelerating rate, but we don't know why. We don't really know what dark energy is. It's sort of just a name that we give to this. And for a long time, all the data was very consistent with this cosmological constant, lambda, which is originally proposed by Einstein, and then, he threw it away, thought that it was not necessary, but
Disowned it.
came back later. Yeah.
Yeah, my big blunder.
Yeah. But now it's been back for the last 25 years or something like
Mm,
that. But there's other forms of dark energy that we could
mm,
imagine doing similar effects. Um, so you can like construct theories that have dark energy be like a scalar field. That field
mm,
could interact with the dark matter field, for example, or it could be some form of modified gravity.
mm,
And now we finally kind of have the precision level of data, but enough data to do really precise measurements of the expansion rate and also um, of the distribution of large scale structure to test this at a really precise level. And so some of the recent results from both of those instruments and some other surveys as well have been showing that maybe lambda isn't actually the right form of dark energy. Maybe it's actually something that evolves with time. And
right,
this W naught WA
right,
parameterization has been fitting better than lambda in some of these data sets.
right,
So that's been very exciting because we really haven't had a hint of what dark energy is
right,
since the 90s. We've
right,
just been getting more and more precise on constraining lambda,
right.
but that doesn't really tell us what it is.
Yeah,
And so I hope that it really is not lambda because it's more interesting and there's
yeah,
more
right,
cool things to look for. If there's some kind of coupling, for example, that can cause some special features in the
right,
large scale structure, and that's what I work on. So there's
mm,
basically motivation to look at some of the more exotic theories that I've always
right,
found interesting, but I
true.
think now are um, more at the forefront of people's mind in the field.
Right. So like how do you feel about that other camp that are saying that maybe dark energy, dark matter are just actual misunderstandings that we have made in the theoretical fields?
Um,
How do you feel about that? Because I mean, there are like also
yeah,
like so many exotic theories like coming from that camp, which are like also like very interesting, especially like coming from the quantum gravity and then like quantum loop like theories, etc. But yeah, like how do you feel about that?
yeah. I mean, I think that avenue is worth pursuing as well. And I mean, I do feel like the real understanding, like the fundamental understanding of dark energy at least is going to come from some breakthrough in quantum gravity because it's kind of the big part of physics we don't understand right now.
Right.
Um, and there's these limits in field theory that as far as I know, this is not really my area, but like make the vacuum energy hard to predict and things like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think I really hope that people make breakthroughs in those fields. And then I don't think it means that it's not like I don't think basically those two views have to be incompatible. I think there can
No,
be
right.
something fundamental that we're not understanding. Like I think we all actually assume that there is something fundamental
Right.
we're not understanding. Um, and the way that we approach it in cosmology is to just parameterize the behavior
Right.
and try to fit the data.
Right.
But that's not actually really telling us fundamentally what is going on, but
Right.
it can help point us to what's fundamentally going on. So I think basically
Right.
we need to work together, like the theorists who are doing
Right.
intense quantum gravity, analytic theory, and everything,
Right.
coming up with these exotic new theories, and then the observational cosmologists that are fitting the data with these parametric models, we can basically feed them these models and say, does your theory predict this behavior? And
Right.
if it does, that gives some weight to that theory.
True. So
Or,
you think
we
like
can
the
also rule
breakthrough is
other
like
theories
coming
out.
from a combination rather than coming
Yeah.
like from one direction. It's not going to be
Yeah.
purely observational, not purely theoretical. It's going to be something collaborative in the middle.
I
Yeah,
do
I feel
think
like
so.
because
Yeah,
both
because
sides
we,
couldn't be like, I mean, convincing each other. So like, I mean, this is like the big
yeah.
issue, like this is why this is
Mm,
a very heated debate because it's like, oh yeah, like, I mean, we have these theories, but where's the observational evidence? And then like people are like, we're observing a lot of things, we're not understanding what's happened.
exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you think
Yeah. I
like the
think
breakthrough is like coming from these two, like coming together,
I,
like
I
one for
definitely think
one.
so. Because, you can have the most beautiful theory in the world, and if the evidence doesn't fit it, then,
Yeah, all
it's
right.
still
I agree.
beautiful, but that's not
I
the
mean, I feel like
answer.
this is the magic of science that like people were obsessed with it for so many years. They were like, oh yeah, like the most beautiful theories have always worked. They didn't necessarily have to, right? But they're like the most beautiful ones usually have. And this is why the people say that, oh yeah, like universe mathematically is very beautiful because it has always
Yeah.
worked that way. So, I mean, I think if
Yeah.
you're like getting disappointed, then like that means that world is like more chaotic. Maybe it's like more interesting than what we thought.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not that organized that we thought it should be. But
Yeah.
yeah, like also like if the very beautiful one theory like works, then that is also something that, oh yeah, like human beings always knew. So it's like more like in the prophecy direction. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
both sides, I mean, I'm feeling good about everything, like there's not
Yeah.
one theory that is like disappointing me
I
personally.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I try not to get like emotionally tied to a certain type of solution, I guess. Like I think if we had this beautiful theory of everything and explained it all, of course
Right.
that would be amazing and, as we say, beautiful.
Right.
But I don't think, our human desire to have something be very simple or symmetric or
Yeah.
whatever necessarily means that's how the universe has to be.
Yeah.
And I think we have to follow what the evidence shows us,
Right.
not what we feel like as humans.
Yeah, no, right. I think like this was like the magic that like I mean the obsession like came from this part that like oh what we felt like what was the most beautiful thing like actually worked. So it was
Hmm.
the obsession that
Yeah.
was like around like 20th century, right? I mean the golden age of
Yeah.
physics, whatever, that like oh yeah,
Yeah.
like, I mean our predictions make so much sense. But yeah, like
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, then I think like we're in a new era and that's a good era.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very
Yeah. I
good era to
agree.
be in, right? Like I mean things
Yeah.
changing. It's always great.
Hmm.
So my last question for you is that how do you see yourself in the future as a cosmologist? Like, I mean, like, this is something that is about your mental picture of yourself, like how you're seeing yourself right now. I mean, I know, like, we talked a little bit about this, that, like, oh, yeah, like, becoming an actual professor is a very heavy duty.
Hmm.
But I mean, we all have that, like, mental vision of ourselves that is, like, in the future, like, looks like something. And then I want to
Hmm.
know that, what is that for you? Is that a pure researcher? Is that a manager? Is that a professor?
Mm.
Is that a mother?
Yeah.
Was like
Yeah.
taking a break for like so many years? I don't know.
I think for me, my ideal state in terms of career would be getting to do research at least 30% of my time, ideally at least 50, which I know is a big ask, like if you want
Right,
to become faculty because you lose a lot of that time.
right, true.
Um, but with time, I've realized that I really like thinking about the big ideas and like formulating research project ideas, etc. I also like doing the nitty-gritty, but I don't think that's really what drives me.
Okay.
So I think that that research time, if I'm able to spend it either like supervising a group or leading projects and things like that, I will be fulfilled as a scientist because I like doing that like idea stage and project planning stage, etc. And helping drive like the science of a project, not
Okay.
necessarily doing all of the detailed
Right.
algorithm development, etc. So I think, yeah, as long as I can do that, I would be very happy. So I see myself supervising students. I really enjoy that already, and I hope to do that more in the future. Um, and also, hopefully running some kind of research group in the future, maybe having people collectively working on the same concept because I think it's very hard to make much progress when you're working on an idea just on your own. So having multiple
Right.
people that are passionate all working on the same thing would be great. Um, and I've enjoyed teaching when I've done it in the past. I wouldn't mind doing some teaching as well in the future. I don't think I'd want to do mostly teaching,
Okay.
but if it's part of my job, I think I would enjoy it. And hopefully not too much bureaucracy. That's my goal. I don't want to spend all my time applying
I
for
think that's
grants.
everyone's goal. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know
Yeah,
that's
when they're
like
young. Yeah.
part of it.
Don't want to be like
So
signing the paper, filling the forms all the
yeah,
time. Yeah.
but
Convincing
it
people beyond
becomes
the phone,
yeah, or
moving people, pushing people. Yeah. No.
yeah, managing money like that
Yeah.
doesn't
No,
appeal to
right.
me at all.
True. No, I know. Huge
Um,
responsibilities, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, well.
But yeah, I think also I really hope that I can have some kind of work that has a bigger impact than just on the science. Either I think through mentorship that you do have some impact,
Mhm.
but also through things like outreach or maybe someday developing some kind of programs to help, science education reach more like underprivileged areas or things like that. Yeah, it's something I'm passionate about, but I haven't had a lot of time to work on so far.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe as a faculty in the future, I might have the time and resources to do something a
Oh,
bit
yeah.
more
Oh,
impactful.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, right. So you're mentally moving towards the Professor Martin Lokken phase, right?
Yeah.
I
Sure.
mean, it sounds good to
Mentally,
me.
maybe. I
Yeah,
don't know if
it sounds
my
good to
CV
me.
is
Yeah, like
moving
we can
towards
do that.
there. Or, yeah.
Yeah,
If my mind could determine it, then yeah, that'd be great.
yeah, it looks good.
But
Yeah, it looks
that's the
nice.
goal.
Okay.
Yeah. Or
Okay,
some
so
kind
there's
of
like,
like research staff. Yeah.
yeah, no, right. So like one thing that I forgot to ask you, I mean, during all these years, is there a wonderful moment in your career that you usually mentally go back to and you look back to it when you're in a very difficult moment? You're like, oh yeah, like I mean, this is like so much difficult because you have also like changed countries like many times. Like this is
Mm.
the third time, right? Like the second
Hmm.
time, I suppose. And then it's a lot of traveling. I mean, everyone knows like this is very challenging, especially for women to do. So like this is why like plenty of female astronomers just quit on earlier stages
Hmm.
because they want to have a family, they want to have kids, etc. So I mean, you have to put a lot
Yeah.
of things on the line. Like the
Yeah.
stakes are high, in my opinion, for women
It's
especially.
true.
But yeah, like, is there like something that is like a wonderful moment that you go back to and then like you're like, oh, it was always worth it. I mean, I
Hmm.
would do it again.
Hmm. Interesting. I feel like often, yeah, when I think about like my peak moments in astronomy, I probably
Okay.
would go back to my undergrad research project in Hawaii because I got to do
Mhm.
this. It's called this like research experience for undergraduates or RU. And got to spend a whole summer in Honolulu doing research on galaxy morphology. And the research was cool, like getting to, further understand and feel more like a scientist was really cool. But also I had made some great friends there and the location was amazing. So I just really enjoyed that summer. And it was like the career path that brought me there. Like otherwise I wouldn't have been able to be there. And I got to go see the telescopes and see really, really dark skies, like the best skies I've ever seen. So that was an amazing experience. And yeah, I think I kind of peaked in life there. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, right.
Um,
True.
but
A lot
I've
of
really
people in our field
enjoyed,
have like this special moments with the darkest skies.
Yeah.
I feel like this is something that we should save for the next generations. Like there's this new like a startup that I've heard is like forming in US, which is about like putting mirrors in the orbit. So there's something very scary and
Mm.
it just ruins our experience of like seeing the night skies because it wants to like save the solar energy during nighttime. And I feel like that's like complete nonsense. Like I mean this is
Oh.
something that is like just taking away the spiritual experience that you have with the darker skies. And if you see like so many of successful astronomers, astrophysicists are coming from that background that they had a very close connection to the
Hmm.
night skies and then like whatever like celestial objects, or I don't know, like I mean
Yeah.
stellar clusters, whatever. But
And also just for
yeah,
everyone, like I was talking recently with my Oma, my grandmother, about being able to see the night sky because we I had just recently gotten to be in Arizona and I went to a very
okay,
dark sky spot and I saw a nice dark sky for the first time in a while. I could see the Milky Way and everything.
right.
And I was
The
so
naked
happy because
eye.
I've been, yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice like trip
That's
along
why that's
there.
so sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah, it was, I think even, I couldn't find it, but I think it was dark enough that we could have seen
Mhm.
Andromeda, but I didn't find
Oh,
it.
oh, oh, nice.
So it
Oh,
was a really
oh,
good dark sky spot, like
yeah,
one of the best. And it had been years because I've been living in cities. It's been years since I saw a sky like that. And I was talking about it to my grandmother, and she was like reminiscing, like she grew up on a farm, and she was
right.
thinking, well, when I grew up, we always would see that, but these days I never do. And she was kind of confused about it, or I could tell like she felt quite sad that she had become like
Yeah, right.
disconnected from that. And it's just there's too much light pollution now,
I know.
and even in like the
Very
smaller
popular
city that she
place.
lives in. And I felt very sad about that, for her that she hadn't seen it in so long, and really for all of us that
Right,
we all have become so disconnected. Because I think there's something you get when looking at a really dark sky, you get kind of context. Like you feel
right.
very small and you realize the universe is very big
True.
and you realize you're kind of on this rock. I remember being in Hawaii and just like laying down on the rocks and looking up, and my whole view was the sky, except for a little bit, of the rocks around me. And I really felt this feeling like I'm on this rock, hurtling through space in this galaxy, and we're
Yeah,
just around this one
right,
star in this huge galaxy, and even this galaxy is only one of
right,
so many billions in the universe, and
right,
it's quite, it really shakes you when you think about that. But it also kind of helps all of your daily problems feel a bit smaller and
right.
gives some context for life.
Yeah.
So
When
I
you
think
see
it's
the
a
scale.
beautiful experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, right, true. I mean, we were talking to a science communicator recently, and he was saying that, oh yeah, like it's wonderful that we have all of these like big telescopes, but always looking at the skies with your own telescope is something else. Just
Hmm.
naked eyes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Your own
Yeah,
telescopes.
I
Yeah.
mean
We got
that's a
two right
wonderful
here.
thing to have. Yeah, no, right? I mean, our
Yeah.
detectors are like best detectors, I think.
Mm. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, okay, so like we touched on like so many topics. I think like thank you so much. It was a very enjoyable conversation for me. I hope it was the same for you.
Yeah,
And I
for me
hope
as
like
well.
people,
Of
yeah, like I mean
course.
take something away from this. I'm sure like many will do. But yeah, like,
For
if there's
sure.
like something that we have missed or like a closing comment did you have for anyone?
No, I mean, for anyone who's trying to be a cosmologist or any kind of astronomer in the future, I would say just keep trying. Like, it's easy to think that, look at others and think, oh, I'm not smart enough, or everybody else is a genius, right? Or, you have to have some like innate, really natural ability or something like that. But most of that is a myth. Like most people work in collaborations, nobody just comes up with the equation on the spot. Like you have to think
Right.
through things. Everything takes time, everything takes thought and careful work. And so really to get there, you just have to do the work to get there. That's
Yeah.
been my experience. So just keeping pushing, treating yourself well, trying not to be burnt out, making sure you can stay a full human and do other things you enjoy too.
Yeah.
But be persistent and you'll be able to make it.
That's a wonderful message. No,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you very much. Yeah.